Welcome to the Team Teach podcast. I'm Claire, and in each episode you'll find me talking with an expert guest to learn more about behaviour. We squeeze a lot into each episode. You'll listen to the latest thinking in behaviour, continue your professional development with our book recommendation, and then I'll send you away with 3 practical tips you can use in your setting. I'm joined today by Dave Smallwood. Dave is a Principal Team Teach trainer and Company Director of SENse Training and Consultancy. He's worked in special schools for both the local authority and for the National Autistic Society. As a staff development coordinator for the National Autistic Society, he's also delivered and developed training in autism, equality, diversity and rights. Dave is also an occasional co-host of the Team Teach podcast. And today, Dave and I are talking about how to retain staff in the education sector. Enjoy the episode. Hi, Dave. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you, Claire. Just having a cup of tea.
Your favourite? How long did you leave the tea bag in for?
40 minutes.
So disgusting. We are talking about teacher and support staff retention. So we're education focused today. Dave, could you start off by doing a short intro to yourself?
Yeah, hello, I'm Dave. I'm a principal trainer for Team Teach, delivering the Team Teach training packages. I also help Claire out with the podcast from time to time. My background is working in education, predominantly with autistic individuals. And that's it.
Fab, thanks, Dave. My glamorous assistant, I don't know, or glamorous co-host. I don't know what to go with.
Glamorous will just do. It doesn't matter.
Just glamorous. My name's Claire Edmondson. Like Dave, I'm a principal Team Teach tutor, running the Team Teach syllabus, training up other trainers. My background's working in education, mental health and adoption and fostering services. For this topic, I've worked in mainstream and SEN and alternative provisions and PRU. So I'll have a good spectrum across those sectors on this topic. So,
let me just stop you there, Claire. Oh no, go on. What are you going to say? So I was going to ask the question.
I know. I was just going to say how much off air you were going on about this topic, and I had to be like, Dave, we just need to record it. Stop ranting at me. But yeah, could you ask the next question for me?
Yeah. So Claire, what do you wish you knew then that you know now?
About this topic, it's tough, this one, because actually when I first started teaching, now I think actually, it's nearly 20 years now. Time has gone on. There wasn't such a retention crisis at all. In fact, I remember applying for English jobs. That's what I trained as initially, a secondary English teacher, and it was tough. It was really tough to get jobs, less so in SEN and APs, like still competition, but less so. And I think really this just wasn't a thing. So I can't reflectively answer this question. I guess apart from knowing now, I think more about staff well-being. I think even then, when I was working, a long time ago in schools, it would have been really helpful to have my well-being looked after, because I'm one of the people that has left teaching. I still work one-to-one, but I do therapeutic work with individuals. I'm no longer teaching. So I do think, some knowledge about well-being and services kind of looking after well-being all those years ago. But yeah, it's been a changing field in the last 20 years, certainly with retention, a big change.
There has been a big change, and it is a difficult one for a reflective question, because it's certainly changed now. I'm not gonna. I can feel the rant coming back on. I'm not going to go into it now.
I'll just turn your mic off.
The staffing is difficult nowadays. We're quite well placed. We go around the country and get to talk to a lot of people from a lot of different types of services, and across the board, care, education, getting staff in the first place is really, really difficult. Recruitment is the hard bit, and then we've got to keep them after that. So it is difficult, but a lot of it does come down to welfare. Really hard jobs. Teachers aren't just teachers. It is a difficult job, and we focus a lot on the well-being and mental health of the children that we support, but we also need to do the same for our staff as well. I think that's the real big thing, isn't it?
It is the support and the well-being, and it's a really tricky topic because I really feel for staff, and I can really see both sides. So when we're looking at it from our services perspective, we want to retain individuals, so the children, young people, young adults, whoever we are in education, have a consistent workforce and a consistent touch point with staff. But equally, from staff's perspective, it is incredibly difficult, I think, to stay in the education sector with the current standards, the current climate, the current pressures. All of those things make it really difficult. And I think I'm about to get on my soapbox now. Dave's going to be like, oh my gosh, shut up, Claire. But I really feel for support staff, because actually I've had a colleague leave a service that I work in one day a week because they cannot afford to keep being and working in the support staff field, because it's not enough money. There isn't enough hours. I know you get, great holidays, you're not paid for them, but they simply cannot afford to do it. And she is a very, very good member of staff. She is excellent. She cares, but she's had to leave. So there are so many different factors that come into reasons why retention is so tricky at the moment in our services.
Yeah, it's really difficult. It's not. It's that's hard, isn't it? It's not something that we can sort out on on the podcast, is it? Paying people more money, and I wish we could, but we
Well,
can't.
just
But
to
we
inter
support. It's not.
just to in
Go
oh,
on,
go on. No, no, because I really want to interject, Dave, with a
go
real
on,
good
go
stat
on,
now.
go on.
So
Interject with the stat.
I mean, this doesn't apply to support staff after who that's what I was talking about, but teachers have just had a 5.5% pay rise from the kind of new Labour government, and that's come into effect in September. So there has actually been a step to increase wages. I was desperate to show my knowledge of this, Dave. So now please continue.
Which is it's lovely. It's lovely, and I hope co-hosts of podcasts get the same thing as well. That'd be lovely.
Minus money.
I don't think yes, that's really good, and I'm really happy for teachers. I think it's great, but it's not as simple as money. I think some of the stats that we've been looking at is about work-life balance. Uh, Teachers, we were just talking off air about one of the stats. 72% of teachers say they're helping. This is secondary school teachers helping students with non-academic matters relating to mental health and cost of living issues. So that's 72% helping people with other things. Now, we spoke about this quite a lot because teaching isn't just about teaching. Of course, we're going to be helping people with other matters as well, and we should be doing those things, and we're building relationships, and we build relationships, and then people start to learn when they feel cared for and respected, just like staff. But we have to acknowledge that teaching isn't just teaching, and work-life balance matters, the welfare of staff matters. So it's not just about giving money, it's about supporting staff and giving them support with other things that are teaching as well. So we should be helping teachers with mental health issues and cost of living crisis matters, and that's the big thing, helping staff. The other side of it as well is actually getting the staff in through the door, recruitment in the first place.
Yeah.
And something I'm seeing a lot is, or getting told about a lot is, we get support staff in, and the ones that are just shining and absolutely amazing and brilliant at the jobs, they get snapped up from somewhere else, or heads turn, and off they go, and they go and get jobs somewhere else. And it's difficult to find good staff. That then we have to start trying to keep. So yeah, it's not just about money, it's about the welfare and initial recruitment in the first place.
It is. It's very tough. And the stat that Dave just took is from a charity called Education Support. And the survey they did was of 1,000 secondary school teachers. So like it's fairly big, not the biggest kind of survey, but I also found it interesting in that survey that they did where it says that 78% of teachers said they'd be likely to leave the profession if they were offered a job in another sector which had a better work-life balance. And that really is supporting what Dave said there, that it isn't just a money thing. I do think that I'll take support staff to one side, because I think that it's a travesty that support staff have to leave the profession because they don't earn enough money with the cost of living. But looking just at the kind of teacher's salary, that, you know, the cost of living is a lot, but that really isn't the primary thing. It is that work-life balance. And I know that the DFE have a teacher recruitment and retention strategy, and the number one thing that they talk about in that strategy is actually about having more supportive school cultures and reduced workloads. And that's that work-life balance, because if you're arriving at school at, I don't know, 7 a.m. I used to get in when I taught in mainstream, and this is before the pressure really started. Like, I definitely left education before it really got squeezed. And then you're leaving at 6 p.m. If you have a family, then, you know, when do you see them? When do you have that work-life balance? Because you might be marking or doing various things, you know, on the weekend. So I think that really is one of the huge things. And then really thinking about that more supportive culture. So that really is about that well-being as well. And I know I keep banging on about it, but that for me, when I was teaching full time without responsibility so early on in my career, and I didn't have many periods off at all, I think I really needed more support. And I'm not frightened to say that now, but at the time, you know, not quite fresh out of uni because I went to teaching a bit later, but, you know, pretty young still, I did not have the confidence to say, actually, I need some support with this. I need extra time. And I think that culture of being able to ask for help or even receive help before it even kind of comes up, it is so important. And there are initiatives of staff well-being now, but I often think it's just a sort of, oh yeah, let's have like a hand massage, or, you know, let's have a twilight after school where I don't know what we do. We do a bit of yoga together, and those bits are very important, but it's the supportive culture. It's not these kind of one-off well-being things where well-being of staff is embedded into everything that we do. And I think that's really hard for leaders to be able to do in the current climate, with inspections and targets and having to meet certain criteria that puts pressure on them, and then that puts pressure on staff. So it really is a cog that keeps turning, and it's tricky. And I think Dave said at the start, how are we going to solve this on a podcast? Well, we're 11 minutes in.
Yeah.
And we've just
It's like I was thinking about like a pylon, you know, like when you used to be on the school field and do a pylon, everyone jumps on each other. And it's pressure. Everyone's got
yeah.
pressure from somewhere.
Pylon.
Constant, but who's at the bottom? Who's at the bottom of this?
Such
Uh,
a good metaphor, Dave.
yeah, it's the children at the bottom, and they're taking all of this pressure on them, creating these cultures of support. It's management, isn't it? Just like the children, our job as trainers is to try and change hearts and minds and get people thinking about behavior as communication. So this child over here is behaving this way, not because they're awful and horrible. They're behaving this way because they don't understand and they're asking for help but don't know how to do it. Staff are the same. And that's what us as managers should do. We should be noticing staff finding things difficult, and then offer support. It's great, yeah, to have things like you were just saying. Yeah, we've had a lovely time at Zumba. Now go and do your job. It's not as simple as that either. When we're starting to see someone flagging or finding something difficult, then we notice it and we make sure that they know that we've noticed it. And just that in itself is like, oh, actually, they can see that I'm struggling and they are offering the help. That has to be more powerful than a session of Zumba. The Zumba's really good. I really like Zumba. but we need to have more of the other as well.
Did you know that you can become a trainer and deliver Team Teach training to staff within your own organisation? Have the flexibility to choose when, where and who you deliver your training to throughout the year. Find out more about this cost-effective option on the Team Teach website.
One more, because I said it to you before. Sorry, Claire.
All right.
I think staff just need sometimes as well a sounding board. They need safe space to go and scream at someone. That's simple, because it's hard. It's really hard work. So you know what? You can come in my office, we'll close the door and you can shout and scream at me for half an hour. That's fine. I'll do that. And then that might just be enough to let them vent it. Sometimes that's what they need.
It is. I think one of the interesting bits of work that I do now, and part of the reason why I am training to be a counsellor actually is for some of the bits that we're talking about now is, I guess, an interest in supporting staff in those difficult moments in the services that they work in. And I've done an interesting bit of work supporting support staff just in 3 1-hour kind of coaching sessions, vented, it's confidential, and actually seeing the difference in staff just having a safe space, like 1 hour a term, like that's it, it's not a lot, to actually to be able to talk to someone externally about how they're finding the behaviors of some of the, you know, children and young people, how they're feeling about it, how they feel about the leadership team. And actually it has been, I don't want to say transformational because that sounds too much, but I can see a difference in them. And I'm not saying that you have to get someone external in to do that sort of thing. It's a bit like what Dave was saying there, is that by offering time and support, which I know that we're short of and it's really hard, but that really can, you know, make the difference. And I just also wanted to add in about the stat from the DFE from 2023 that 9 out of 10 newly qualified teachers carry on in the profession. So 1 in every 10 drops out. Let's hope that my maths isn't wrong with that, but that sounds about right. But actually, so 1 of every 10 that we train drops out. So there is something to say about supporting and putting more support in for early career teachers, because it is tough. It is really tough those first couple of years workload wise, and, you know, understanding how it all works. Yeah, I think that's a real area to focus in on.
The workload is massive, and just trying to understand everything, it's really, really difficult, and all the systems that are in place and knowing all the policies, and it's so hard, so difficult. It's tough on people. So we do need to support those newly qualified teachers.
We do, and I think I'm feeling a bit like I did with the uniform episode. Do you remember when we were sort of like, oh, just like don't have them was like the answer, but it was quite simple to us. But I feel with this one, not that it feels hopeless, because, you know, maybe there's a different education sector, maybe there'll be a different focus in education, and things might change, but it feels very systemic. And when things are systemic, it then feels like it's harder to kind of break through those systems that we're already in without having a systemic change. So I can see why people listening to this might, you know, feel like it's a bit hopeless, but I do think that very small changes in our individual services can make a whole difference. And I do think the number one thing really is workload and support. I know that, you know, there are various other things that the DFE recommend, but if we really want to focus in on things, really it is that that time and support for staff, I would say.
Yeah, that and policies that facilitate people to implement those core values that we want to live by. That's systematic. What did you say?
Systemic.
Systemic. The way things are done, it's like we have a behavior policy that is so set in concrete that you have to follow. That is so complicated, and we're not addressing everybody's needs because of it. Yet our mission statement says that this should be a place where we should listen to each other and understand individuals, respect each other. it's really difficult for people to live by that mission statement and implement things that are really, really rigid. So how can we change our culture to facilitate those core values? Because they're the most important things. And that's what's going to keep people, teachers want to be in a place where they feel cared for, just like the children should as well. So how do we implement that? It's a big piece of work, isn't it? It's not
Yeah.
solved in 5 minutes, but that's it for me.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Dave. Yeah, it's interesting to link that back to the values that we uphold and try and promote for the children, young people, young adults, in our education services. Let's finish off the episode with 3 top tips. Shall I go first?
Can do. I just gave mine a minute ago.
We have to do them again because that's how the podcast works. So I've talked about mine really across the podcast, but really trying to create a position of support by giving time to individuals that really need that support. And I know that can be tricky because time is really poor in our education services. But yeah, more time and support for those that really need it. And then my second top tip actually is about what I was saying about early career teachers. I really think having like a nice bubble of support around specifically those teachers can really help, because we really want to try and retain as many new teachers, that we train as possible.
Yeah. Do you want my top tip now?
Yes, please.
1 or 2?
Just one.
Okay. Well, I wanted to say time, like you said. I'm just picking up on the time one that Claire just said. Time's difficult. We haven't got any, and we don't like to give it away. But find it, make it. Time is really, really important. If you invest time now, it'll pay dividends in the future. It's a bit like money. So we invest that time in staff and give them that safe space somewhere where they can go and release, because that's what people need. But that's not my top tip. My top tip is creating those environments that really, really embed those core values that we have in our mission statements. That's what we want. We want staff to feel cared for, and we want everybody to feel cared for. That doesn't start with the children. That starts with us, and that cascades down. That's the pile-on effect that we want. We want that care, respect, kindness, love, respect, listen to empathy, all of these things. We want that from the top, and that has to come down, and it will filter down all the way through if it's there in place.
Nice. I'm going to leave the episode with this pylon metaphor, which I really like. Although I know it's a new one, but you technically had about 30 top tips there. So yeah, good luck to the listener fishing out the 3.
And just to let the listener know as well, I stared straight down the barrel of the camera as I was saying it. I really meant it.
You did really mean it. But thanks, Dave. That was a really interesting topic. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening. And I'll catch up with you soon, Dave.
All right. Thanks, Claire. Bye.
You've been listening to the Team Teach podcast. It's been great to have you here with us as we discuss behaviour, communication, and the ways we can best support those in our care. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.